Hi everyone, and welcome to this bite-sized recording focused on T-level education and early years. I'm Gemma McGregor, Provider Development Officer here at NCFE. In this recording, we'll be exploring key insights from the Chief Examiner's report for the Education and Early Years Occupational Specialist routes. Let's start with a quick overview. The insights I'll be sharing today come from the Generation 1 Occupational Specialism assessments, which took place in summer 25. Although Generation 2 students will experience some updated assessment materials, the themes and findings here remain relevant, so please do think about how this could apply to preparing your Year 1 students for their second year of T-level studies. The feedback shows positive progress. Students are becoming more confident, showing stronger professional behaviours and producing more structured evidence overall. However, there's still need for further support when it comes to applying theory to practice, managing time effectively, and performing well in professional discussions. Remember that the purpose of this session isn't just to reflect on how students performed, it's to use these insights to strengthen assessment readiness and improve the quality of evidence going forward across both pathways. Now let's move into the key themes from this assessment series. In this section, we'll explore what the Chief Examiner's report highlighted across the occupational specialisms, looking at the main areas of strength, as well as the common challenges that continue to appear. These insights are designed to help you reflect on your own delivery and to think about where your own students are in their preparation for assessment. This slide looks at the key themes for the early years educator pathway. Overall, students engaged well with the assignments and showed growing confidence in applying their knowledge. Stronger responses made good use of theory, curriculum and observation methods with clear links to briefs. There was noticeable improvement in planning, particularly in embedding safeguarding, health and well-being and partnership working. Professional discussions also showed progress, with more structured openings and clearer links to practice. There are still some areas for development, however. A few students gave generic responses or repeated content across plans, which meant they missed the specific focus of their brief. Some plans lacked depth or balance, with one being more detailed than the other. And evaluations often leaned towards description rather than analysis or reflection, and professional discussions on occasion remained inconsistent, with missed chances to explore knowledge in greater depth. This next slide focuses on the key themes for the assisting teaching pathway. Students generally applied their knowledge well to case studies and classroom scenarios. Stronger responses showed clear links between theory and practice, particularly when adapting lesson plans or supporting literacy. Professional behaviour was consistent during structured observations, with students showing confidence in their pupil support. Many also demonstrated a holistic awareness, thinking about health, well-being and learning together in their strategies. In terms of areas for development, some responses repeated details from the case studies without deeper analysis or justification. There were also some missed opportunities to embed social inclusion and anti-discriminatory practice across different tasks. During structured observations, few students found it difficult to show spontaneous opportunities, such as using maths in context. Time management also remained a challenge, with stronger work seen in Case Study 1 than in Case Study 2. Professional discussions were also variable, with interruptions and unsuitable settings affecting performance in some cases. Now let's take a closer look at the occupational specialism by breaking it down into each assignment. We'll start with Assignment 1 for assisting teaching. This section highlights what worked well, where challenges remained, and how you can continue to strengthen preparation for future students. As we look at each assignment, think of your own students and what you've experienced when delivering the qualification. What would support them best, and how might you implement new strategies? Are there any trends, and what might come next? Let's begin with the key findings for assisting teaching in Assignment 1. Overall, students showed strong links between theory and classroom practice, and many were able to apply their understanding effectively. However, some struggled to justify the adaptations and strategies they chose, which limited their marks in the higher bands. Safeguarding was generally well covered, but inclusion tended to be more superficial, with a limited exploration of how it was embedded into practice. The strongest students drew on their placement experience to add depth and authenticity to their responses. Those who followed the provided templates produced well-structured work, but there were still missed opportunities to involve parents and carers in their planning and evaluation. To make further progress, students really need to develop greater depth in their reasoning, provide clear rationales for their decisions, and manage their time more effectively across the assignment tasks. To support development in these areas, there are several strategies that could help strengthen student performance. You could start by using guided reflection tasks that get students to practice explaining why they've made particular adaptations or decisions. This helps them develop stronger justification skills. You could also embed case study analysis across topics, focusing on things like inclusion and equality so that these principles become part of every discussion rather than a standalone theme. It's useful to model examples of strong versus weaker rationales in lessons, showing what good reasoning looks like and how it links to evidence in practice. Including regular placement debrief sessions can also help students connect theory with what they observe and experience in real settings, and they'll enjoy hearing about each other's experiences. You could encourage students to use the lesson plan template during mock assessments to build familiarity and structure. And finally, add short planning tasks that include homeschool partnership ideas to help them think more broadly about engagement and communication. Now let's take a look at the same assignment for early years educator. Overall, activities often needed a clearer link to the theme and learning focus. Where students made those links explicit, their work showed stronger understanding and purpose. The highest marks were awarded to plans that demonstrated creativity and made clear connections to theory and curriculum. There was a strong focus on safeguarding, health and well-being across most submissions, which was really positive for examiners to see. The best plans met the needs of all of the children rather than focusing on just one, and students who identified clear next steps and developmental progression were rewarded for their clarity. Partnership working also made a difference to outcomes. Where students showed how they collaborated effectively with colleagues or families, performance was stronger overall. One common issue was that the second activity plan tended to be less detailed than the first. It's important for students to maintain balance and consistency across both plans to show the same level of thought and depth. For both assisting teaching and early years educator, it's also worth noting that plans should be written in future tense and encourage students not to copy or paste generic sections across both plans, which was a reported cause of lost marks in the summer series. To strengthen performance in Assignment 1 for early years educator, these strategies can help build both confidence and consistency. You could start by reinforcing the importance of carefully reading and interpreting briefs before beginning any planning tasks. This helps students fully understand the theme and learning focus from the outset. Use planning workshops where students have to justify their choices. This develops reasoning skills and encourages them to explain why they selected particular activities or resources. You could ask students to map their plans directly to development matters and relevant theoretical approaches. This helps make the link between planning decisions and professional knowledge much clearer. You could provide practice in writing differentiated adaptations so that all children's needs are met, not just these of a single focus child. And you could also run marking exercises where students compare balanced and uneven plans to spot what makes a plan effective and complete. You could encourage the use of simple checklists to make sure that health and safety and partnership elements are embedded in every plan. And finally, build in timed planning practice. This helps your students develop pace and balance across the activities, avoiding the issue of one plan being stronger than the other. In this section, we'll look at Assignment 2, the structured observations for assisting teaching. We'll explore the key strengths that came through this series, some of the recurring challenges, and some practical ways to help students build confidence and consistency in their performance. This slide looks at the findings for Assignment 2 for assisting teaching. Overall, there was a noticeable improvement in both planning and professionalism. Students showed growing confidence when leading small groups and supporting literacy activities. Many demonstrated effective use of scaffolding, differentiation, and behaviour management strategies, which contributed to stronger performance in observation. Collaboration with teachers was better than in previous series, but it's still a little inconsistent, with some students needing more evidence of teamwork and shared planning. There were also a few missed opportunities, and these were seen around helping pupils set realistic learning targets, and mathematical development was often limited to basic counting rather than exploring wider concepts. Equality and inclusion were visible in most sessions, but not always fully embedded in planning or delivery. Building these elements into every stage of practice remains an important area for development. When we look across the structured observations for assisting teaching, there's a clear sense of progress. Students are becoming more confident in applying what they've learned, but the consistency still varies. In the first observation, where planning took place alongside the class teacher, the strongest performances were those that felt purposeful and well prepared. Students who could adapt their approach, manage behaviour confidently, and use technology appropriately really stood out. What sometimes limited marks was surface level application of literacy, so encouraging students to show how they teach literacy rather than just mention it will really make a difference. Moving into the second observation, we start to see the value of collaboration and reflection. Those who work closely with teachers to plan targeted support and who gave pupils a role in setting goals produced much richer evidence. When tasks became too teacher-led, opportunities to show inclusive or pupil-centred practice could have been missed. By the third observation, many students were demonstrating greater independence and emotional awareness. The highest marks were achieved when they supported pupils' resilience and curiosity, particularly in creative or outdoor contexts. Where practice fell short, it was usually due to vague professional discussions or limited evidence of well-being strategies in action. Overall, these observations show good progress, but also highlight the need to keep developing professional reflection, pupil ownership, and consistency across all observed sessions. Now let's look at Assignment 2, Part 2, the structured observations for early years educator. In Assignment 2, Part 2, we saw some encouraging progress, particularly in how students approach their professional discussions. There's more evidence now of students preparing in advance, structuring their responses, and linking what they say to specific examples of practice. However, this still remains an area that many find challenging, especially when it comes to sustaining depth and reflection throughout. Planning continues to be a real strength. Many students designed meaningful activities that reflected children's interests and demonstrated a good understanding of how to engage and motivate. The ability to link theory to practice has also improved, showing stronger underpinning knowledge overall. That said, a number of students still missed chances to go deeper in discussion and reflection. This often came down to surface level answers rather than exploring the why behind their choices. Time management also caused some difficulties, with a few observations running over the limit, which can impact evidence coverage. Equality and anti-discriminatory practice were mentioned in most cases, but weren't always fully demonstrated in action. And finally, there was some variability in assessor marking consistency and justifications, suggesting the continued need for standardisation and shared understanding of what strong evidence looks like. Looking at the structured observations for early years educator, there's a clear sense of developing confidence and professionalism, but also some recurring themes that are worth focusing on. In the first observation, stronger performances came from students who planned purposeful literacy or learning sessions where theory and curriculum links were clearly embedded. What really lifted the evidence was when students recognised those unplanned, spontaneous opportunities. For example, spotting early maths in play or extending a child's curiosity in the moment. Helping them to see how these moments connect to developmental milestones makes a real difference in assessment quality. The second observation often revealed how well students could evidence equality and inclusion. Those who did this effectively showed a real understanding of individual needs and celebrated diversity throughout their interactions. Weaker work tended to mention inclusion in theory but didn't show it in action, so supporting students to translate understanding into practice, for instance through modelling or peer feedback, is key here. Finally, in the third observation, the best work was holistic. It combined care routines, differentiated strategies and clear attention to developmental progression. Students who managed time well and kept their professional discussions focused achieved the stronger marks. Those who ran over or delivered generic sessions tended to lose focus on the child's needs. Encouraging students to plan realistically and to prioritise quality over quantity will continue to strengthen outcomes in this area. Now let's move on to assignment 3, and assisting teaching in the first instance. We'll look at the key findings from this series, what strong performance looks like in practice, and some of the areas that still need development to help students reach those higher bands. The strongest students approached assignment 3 holistically, giving detailed, well-reasoned responses that clearly linked to theory. They demonstrated confidence in explaining why they would use certain strategies, not just what they would do. Safeguarding and child well-being were generally well covered, which is encouraging. Many students also showed good awareness of children's anxieties and the impact of transitions, particularly when discussing how to create calm, supportive learning environments. Where students tended to lose marks, it was through generic or repetitive answers. Some relied on the same strategies regardless of the scenario, which limited the evidence of understanding and adaptability. Collaboration and inclusion were also areas that could be developed further. Students often mentioned teamwork but didn't fully explore how collaboration improves outcomes for pupils. Finally, few students struggled to apply theory accurately to the given situation. Supporting them to make more specific scenario-based connections will help strengthen their analytical and problem-solving skills. To help students strengthen their performance in Assignment 3, these strategies can make a real difference. You could start by using scenario-based workshops. Giving students opportunities to apply theory to realistic case studies helps them think critically and make purposeful links between knowledge and practice. It's a great way to develop confidence before assessment. Next, model how to move from generic response to more specific strategies. Often, students can describe what they do in general terms, but they need support in tailoring their answers to individual needs or particular contexts. Seeing this modelled in class can help them understand what a higher level response would look like. Teaching explicit links between theorists and classroom application also helps close the gap between theory and practice. By guiding students to connect approaches like Piaget or Brunner directly to what they do in lessons, you'll encourage analytical thinking rather than just memorization. It's also useful to include tasks that explore partnership and multi-agency roles. This reminds students that supporting children's learning and well-being involves collaboration, sometimes beyond the classroom. Writing frames could be introduced to help students structure balanced case study responses, while timed practice tasks build stamina and improve focus under assessment conditions. And finally, keep embedding reflective tasks on inclusion and anti-discriminatory practice. Reflection is what helps students see how their own values and decisions affect outcomes, which is at the heart of their professional growth. Now let's take a look at Assignment 3 for Early Years Educator. For Assignment 3 for Early Years Educator, stronger students demonstrated clear and detailed observation and analysis skills. They were able to look beyond what was happening on the surface and interpret why certain behaviours or interactions mattered for development. Most students structured their work well, but some observations still lacked the level of detail needed to evidence real insight. The strongest evaluations made good use of Kolb's reflective cycle, which helped students move from descriptive to genuine reflection and action. A common issue was that some students stopped at describing what they saw rather than analysing or evaluating it. Encouraging them to dig deeper into the why and what next will really help lift their responses. Those who made clear links to the early years foundation stage and relevant theory tended to achieve higher marks because their reflections were grounded in professional frameworks rather than just opinion. In contrast, next steps were often underdeveloped or not linked back to the original analysis. Helping students connect their reflections to realistic, purposeful next steps will make their evaluations even stronger. Finally, accuracy with command verbs like analyse, discuss and evaluate remains really important. Making sure students really understand what these mean will help them produce responses that meet the assessment criteria more precisely. To strengthen performance in Assignment 3, these strategies focus on building precision, reflection and stronger analytical thinking. You could start with observation simulations. Giving students opportunities to practice recording what they see in a controlled environment helps them develop accuracy and confidence before they're assessed in a real setting. It also allows you to model what detailed focus observation looks like. Next, you could reinforce understanding of command verbs during classroom activities. It's important that students know the difference between describing, analysing and evaluating. This helps shape the quality of their written and verbal responses. Encouraging students to use reflective models like Kolb or Gibbs gives structure to their evaluations and helps move them beyond description. When reflection is consistent, the depth of insight will improve noticeably. Providing examples of strong and weak next steps is also really valuable. Comparing how next steps are written and linking them clearly to the early years foundation stage helps students see what meaningful targeted progression can look like. You could also embed short, low-stakes tasks that connect observation evidence to theory, encouraging your students to justify their thinking. Peer marking works well here too, helping students identify when judgments lack evidence or clear reasoning. And finally, practicing writing under timed conditions helps. This helps build fluency and clarity. It prepares students to communicate their ideas effectively under assessment pressure while remaining calm and keeping structure and focus. Now let's explore a few generic themes across both pathways. Let's take a quick look at some evidence creation and submission comments. The report highlighted a few practical issues, mainly with scanning quality, missing pages and unclear labelling. Make sure each file is complete and easy to read, with cover sheets, student names and the pages all in order. And remember, the qualification instructions for delivery, or QCID, is there to guide you. You can find that linked on the bottom of this slide. Now that we've looked at each assignment in more detail, let's look ahead. It's important to recognise that progress doesn't stop here. Continued support will play a crucial role in helping both students and yourselves sustain improvement and build confidence. In this next section, I'll focus on the guidance and resources that can ensure students remain well prepared and fully supported on their T-level journey. To support your continued learning, we've created YouTube playlists dedicated to education in early years. These playlists bring together training, support and CPD resources, including exam preparation workshops and best practice sessions. They're updated regularly and designed to help both staff and students strengthen their understanding and confidence. You'll notice there are separate playlists for Generation 1 and Generation 2 students, and the links are included here for easy access. Please do make sure that you're accessing the correct playlist for the generation of the qualification you need support with. In addition to the YouTube playlists, there are a wide range of support materials available to help both tutors and students. These include the qualification specification, detailed tutor guidance, and grade standard exemplification materials, often referred to as GSEMs, and of course the support handbook. Together, these resources provide clear guidance on expectations, standards, and good practice. The link shown here takes you directly to the Generation 1 qualification page, where all of these materials can be accessed. The Generation 2 page is also linked from here. Again, please remember to make sure you're on the correct page for the generation of T-level you're delivering. To provide more continued support, we also run a series of T-level events that you can book onto. These include informal drop-in clinics, CPD sessions, and assessor masterclasses. They're designed to answer questions, share practical strategies, and give you the opportunity to connect with others delivering the qualification. The link at the bottom of the slide takes you directly to the booking page, where you can see all of our upcoming sessions and register. In addition to the resources I mentioned on the previous slides, we've created 2 dedicated assessor Padlets, one for early years and one for assisting teaching. These Padlets can be accessed by scanning the QR codes on screen now and are updated by the provider development team. They're designed to help you stay informed, inspired and connected with each other. Make sure to bookmark one or both and check back often. Here you'll find lots of links and useful resources to support your assessors. We're also inviting you to join the Education and Early Years community of best practice, if you haven't already. This is an online space hosted by NCFE where providers can connect with peers across the country, share ideas, resources and delivery tips, get updates, inspiration and guidance directly from the provider development team. By joining, you'll gain access to a dedicated Microsoft Teams space where you can ask questions, join discussions and stay informed throughout your T-level delivery journey. To sign up, simply scan the QR code on screen or use the link and complete the short form. This is a great way to stay connected and supported. For more tailored guidance, one-to-one support is also available. You can book a consultation call for dedicated support for you and your team. This can be arranged easily by completing the booking form on our website. In addition, you can also access help by email at tlevelsupport@ncfe.org.uk. The link at the bottom of this slide will take you directly to the booking page for a consultation call. Before we finish, we'd really value your feedback. Please take a few moments to complete the short feedback form using the QR code on this slide or the link below. Your insights are invaluable to us as they help shape future support and ensure we continue to meet your needs as a provider. Thanks so much for taking the time to engage with this session. We hope the insights, strategies and resources I've shared today will support you and your students as you prepare for upcoming assessments. Please remember that further support is always available, and we hope you can consider the content of this recording and apply some of the strategies to your own classroom. Thank you once again, and we look forward to seeing you at future events throughout the academic year.